Hi, welcome to A Moment with Marta. We've got Game 7 of the World Series tonight, so go Astros. Today I want to talk about prompts. So we went through the behavior series and we talked about collecting data for more severe behaviors and figuring out what some of the precursor behaviors are. So as you're getting your treatment plan, your goals in mind, you're going to have prompts that you're going to need to do in order to help your child, your student, the individual to be able to express whatever it is that they're needing. So let's just say, for example, that they're just struggling with some schoolwork, maybe at school, maybe at home, they're working on homework, they're having a hard time understanding the instructions and they need help, but they don't know how to express that. So you have some precursor behaviors. Maybe you have some whining, maybe you have destruction of property, like they're ripping up the paper, or maybe they're screaming. There could be different precursors, and that's just going to be based on whatever data you collect. So what you want to do is, when you're first introducing a prompt, in this case, let's say we're going to ask them to say, I need help, rather than going into more of the aggressive behaviors. We're just going to teach them, I need help. And again, you can modify this for wherever your child or student is at. If what they're able to do is just say help, that's what you have them do. If they're able to point to a laminated copy with a picture and a phrase that says I need help, that's what you have them do. Regardless, for this example, we're going to have them say I need help. So what you're going to do is provide a clear instruction to complete whatever the task is. So let's just say you're doing an addition math problem. And so you're going to give them that problem, say, what is 8 plus 6? And you're going to just wait. And you're going to kind of keep every 5 to 10 seconds giving that direction. If you start to see any kind of precursor behavior, if it's whining, if it's a phrase of some sort, like, I don't know, I don't want to do it, any of those precursor behaviors, you're going to give a prompt to teach them how to ask for help immediately as soon as you hear that precursor. And let's just say, for today's sake, it's I don't know. I tell the child, what's 8 plus 6? I hear I don't know. As soon as I hear I don't know, I say, you can ask for help. And then I model it. So I'm going to give the most to least prompting levels. It's going to look like the most intrusive, and that's not a negative context. You're going to give them the most help with this prompt that you can possibly give. So with language, I can't force them to move their mouth and say the words, but what I can do is I can model the entire phrase. So I will say, you can ask for help, I need help please, or whatever the phrase is, I need help, whatever it is you decide is acceptable. And you just continue to give that prompt until they've repeated it. And then as soon as they ask for help, then you give them the help doing that most to least prompting for the completion of the task. So for the example of 8 plus 6, then I would just say, I need help. They would say, I need help. Then I say, okay, 8 plus 6 is 14. And I make sure that they repeat 8 plus 6 is 14. And so it's not, you're making sure they're not just kind of echoing and learning to echo you. You're making sure that they understand you're answering this question. Or if it's, a task like tying their shoes, and you're teaching them to do that, again, you wait until they give that precursor. Let's say again, it's, I don't know. I immediately say, you can ask for help. I need help, please. As soon as I get my student or my child to say, I need help, please, then I immediately, in the most intrusive way possible, would be hand over hand to help him to do whatever it was, the instruction that I gave him. If it's that first step to tying your shoes, it's simply just crossing them over, then that's what I'm going to have him do. I'm going to take his hands, place them on the shoelaces, and then I'm going to have him cross them over. Immediately after doing that, then you give them a 30-second break, and that kind of gives them that motivator to encourage them, and maybe they immediately get like their favorite toy, whatever their positive reinforcement is, you give it to them then, and they have that 30-second break, and then you do it again. So you get to the point where they're practicing being able to ask for help rather than doing those precursor behaviors, whether it's whining or property destruction or yelling, constantly saying, I don't know. They're frustrated. They need to learn how to be able to communicate that they need help with a direction. Maybe they don't have the fine motor skills to handle something yet. Maybe something needs to be clarified in their homework. They don't understand how to do it. They need help. And I remember struggling with this whenever I was a kid, not realizing in school that I could ask for help. And so I would just be sitting there. I wouldn't know how to do it, and I would just sit there and the work wouldn't get done. And you don't want that. You don't want them to realize that, you want them to realize they can ask for help. And again, if they're nonverbal or they're not able to complete a full sentence, you just do it wherever they're at. So if they can just say help, that's fine. You can ask for help, or help me, or you can ask for help and you point to the picture, and it gives them a way that they can communicate that they're needing help, that they can get someone's attention, and that they can get the help that they need. And you can do this for any kind of instruction or for any kind of purpose, but for today's example, we're just giving that I need help with a task. So you go from the most to least prompting levels. Let's say that your student starts to pick up after a few times, you can ask for help. You can start, instead of modeling the entire phrase, if you've done it a couple of times, they have said, I need help, please, immediately following you modeling it, then you can start to lessen how much of the phrase you're giving. So you could say, I need, or I. Eventually you might just have to say, you can ask for help. And then maybe they'll say, I need help, please. So you start to give them those opportunities. But when you're first teaching that skill, you're going to start off with the most to least prompting levels. So here's kind of a little flow chart. You would vocally prompt them to ask for help as soon as you see that precursor behavior. So you give them, say, cross your shoelaces, and if they do whining or I don't know, whatever that precursor behavior is, you vocally prompt them to ask for help. You deliver help using the most intrusive prompt necessary. So in the very beginning, you're going to give that full vocal prompt. So you can say, you can ask for help, I need help, please, or I need help, whatever it is that you've decided to do. And then if your student responds correctly, they say, I need help, please. Then you give them enthusiastic praise. You help them with that task. And as soon as they've completed it, then you give them that 30-second praise, a 30-second break. You praise them and they get that break. They get that positive reinforcer. If it's a certain toy, if it's a certain item, something that's edible that they like to eat, whatever it is, my son, just thrives off of high fives and high praise, and then just being able to do nothing. So it just kind of depends on the kid. If they respond incorrectly, then you're going to just continue to give that full verbal prompt and that physical prompt. If it's somebody that's nonverbal, you will physically take their hand and press it onto that picture and say, I need help. So that way they start to register, okay, if I'm struggling with this assignment, I can just point to this. So here's just kind of a copy of the little flow chart. Over time, as they start to master it, then you don't have to model it fully. Again, you can do partial prompts. You can just say, you can ask for help and get to the point where they're able to just independently start asking for help. If you get to the point where they're kind of prompt dependent, which can be a problem for some kids, then what you would do is you would start delaying that prompt. So you might have your precursor, they need help, and as soon as you hear that precursor, I don't know, you start waiting 2 seconds, and then you can ask for help, see if they give that full, I need help please, and if not, then you give that full verbal prompt. And then just over time, you start to delay more and more and more to the point where they just don't need to have that prompt at all, and they just learn, I can ask for help. Helps them to become more independent. So once they've kind of mastered as soon as you have that precursor and you tell them you can ask for help, then you just start to delay it. Start with 2 seconds and just kind of build up, 2 seconds on and on and on until you kind of get to that point where they're able to independently just start to ask for help when they need it, rather than going to those precursor behaviors. It takes more effort to do a lot of those behaviors, whether it's property destruction, crying, screaming, saying just things in a very stressed pitch. And as soon as they see the empowerment of being able to kind of ask for help, whether it's I need help, signing it, and you can show them how to do it, you can move their hands to do it, pointing to a picture, they're able to see that empowerment, and it takes less effort, and they get a lot of praise for doing it that way. And giving lots of practice and lots of positive reinforcement for doing it in that way will start to help them to get to be independent, where they're independently asking for help on those assignments, rather than waiting, sitting there, or having some of those more severe behaviors that they were having before. So that's kind of it for this time. Just kind of a really brief rundown of what you can do to kind of help them learn how to get more independent with asking for help or doing certain tasks. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. And until next time on A Moment with Marta, bye.